So hi everyone. If you're on here today, I've got a big treat for you with the expert Jen Hewitt of the Small Wins Company, who is here to talk to us all about IG stories and how to use IG stories to engage our audience. So I'm super excited for this one. I know that a lot of you have requested over the past few months an expert interview on IG stories. So welcome, Jen. I'm so stoked to have you here.
Thank you. And it's always weird when someone calls you an expert. Like, I'm just an avid user.
Yeah.
But yeah, super happy to be here. Instagram stories is one of my favorite things to use. I use it almost every single day, and it has absolutely transformed a lot of my business relationships, but also building my online community. It's been amazing in helping me do that. So definitely excited to share what I've used with my clients and in my business, my Instagram stories, kind of like methods that I've used to help build my business.
I love that. Yeah, because I know what you mean about the expert thing, but like I have seen you in your previous business to the Small Wins Company, and now with the Small Wins Company, and I'm always like, you strike me as someone that is super consistent.
Oh, thank you.
On IG in general, but
cool.
as well as the stories. So
awesome.
And I think that's where a lot of people fall over. So we're going to dig into that a little bit today.
Yes,
but first of all, tell us a little bit about how you got into social media, and what is it about social media that you love?
Well, I'm a massive talker. You can't shut me up. So social media came very natural to me. I did get a bachelor's degree in marketing, but I went to uni before social media was really a thing. Like MySpace was really cool, and Facebook just started when I graduated uni. So I remember thinking, oh, I've got a Facebook account, but I don't use it. What is this thing? Little did I know it would, run my life for a while and also be part of my business. So that's interesting. So I started off very much in traditional marketing. Had a few internships, but my real love of social media came from travel and starting a travel blog. So I was one of the solo female travel bloggers before it was a saturated market. And I quickly grew my audience through social media. And I just used very simple methods and techniques to do that. And this was before Instagram stories was around as well. So you had organic and Instagram ads. So it was very much about your organic posting, and your content had to matter. So I used a lot of community as well in my Instagram with my travel blog, because I wanted it to be about not just me, but other solo female travelers who've, taken those first trips around, whether it be to a new state or to a new country, just really motivating them to get out and see a new place. So I did that for a few years, and it was awesome, but I love travel. It's my number one passion, and I did not want to mix it with work anymore. When travel became a job rather than, an experience that I got to do based on what I wanted to do, the fun really fizzled. So that was my first step. And then I ended up actually getting a few jobs in New Zealand doing some social media and marketing, and then landed a job in TechPo doing social media and marketing as a manager, and living in a town of 300 people for 4 years. That was very interesting, to say the least. I could write a book on that. And then I did start another business with someone else, which was we tagged ourselves a marketing agency in the mountains, because that's what we were. And I learned so much through that business and living in TechPo about the power of social media, regardless of where you live and what business you have. It's such a powerful tool, especially for small businesses. and to be able to relay your messages to the world. So that's where I got started. Now I live in Christchurch, and I have gone out on my own, and I created the Small Wins Company. And my main mission is for small businesses to celebrate the small wins along the way, but understand how powerful and impactful social media can be on your business. And it's a free tool. So that's my biggest thing, is to obviously be your biggest cheerleader, but show you the strategies through your content and your other social media strategies to show you how to actually do that, build your business, build your online community, so that you obviously get sales.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll dig into some of the main pointers that Jen is going to touch on today. But first of all, if you're watching, say hi in the comments. We'd really love to know who's here. And also, if you have any questions about IG stories, drop them in the comments, and we will talk about them towards the end if we don't answer them along the way.
Yeah.
I can see a few people here. So we've got Shani, Kath and Kim, and we've got Hayley Maxwell here too.
Awesome.
But I can see there's quite a few more on here. So if you're
Awesome.
if you've jumped on, say hi. And if you're watching the replay as well, do the same.
And because I'm on my mobile real quick, I can't see anything besides you. So just let me know, read out the questions for me at the end. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay, cool. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about with stories is, one, showing up, right? So Louise, you already just said, I'm consistent. And for me, that is like the biggest compliment ever, because that is exactly what I want, is for people to understand that part of my business is consistent. And with consistency builds authority, and it builds trust. So that for you to say that I've been consistent is like, yeah, I'm doing, I'm hitting my goals. Yes. But for the first thing, yeah, exactly. I'm celebrating the small wins, right? I'm showing up consistently. So the first things is, well, one, what do I actually do on Instagram stories? I think that is a huge barrier for a lot of people, is one, they don't want to show their face.
Yeah.
And they have absolutely no idea where to start, because, we do consume Instagram stories, but when it comes to our own, you kind of put that barrier up of, I can't do this, or I don't know where to start, when really you just need to start. You just need to show up. So I will always just say, just test things out. Just get on there. But ways that you can show up on your stories to keep yourself consistent, or ways to keep people engaged. One that I see a lot and I love watching are day in the lives. I love watching what people do in their business, or what they do, like, just every day. And what that does for, as a business perspective, that I get credibility of showing people that I'm, one, social proof, I'm working. I have clients and I'm actually doing things. And like,
you're real.
I'm working on my programs and, giving them sneak peeks and things like that. Another thing is, people are really nosy and very curious of what goes on in your life. So if you can give them a glimpse of your day, you're showing them that you're also a human. There's a personality attached to that brand. So what I do with a day in the life is, I usually, obviously start at the beginning of the day, but I let people know what's going to happen throughout the day so that it keeps people coming back. So I'll just say, I've got, heaps of, consults on today. I'm so excited. I'm going to let you in on some of them, so follow along. Or say, actually, I'm on the road today. I've got a workshop going on, in, say, Timaru or wherever, on the South Island. And I've got 20 people that I'm going to do a workshop on Instagram. So excited. So, follow along. So kind of pre-frame the day of what they're going to see. And that keeps people coming back, right, to watch your stories throughout the day. And I always try to make it somewhat engaging, as far as not just sharing all this information and stories with them. I also try to include them in it. So I'll just say, I'm in Timaru, and I haven't been there in a while, just say that. Where should I go eat lunch? Or where should I get what's the best coffee? Or anything to encourage conversation. And people love to give recommendations. They love to they want you to, go to their place that they recommend. And so I show that social proof, right? So if I go to a coffee shop that somebody recommended, I will do an Instagram story there and say, thank you, so-and-so, for recommending this place. It's awesome, right? So again, I'm including my community in my day. So that's one way to show up on your stories. The other way is to do mini trainings or lessons. This is my favorite. It is a lot more time consuming than a day in the life, because that's just very much, I can do that whenever. Mini trainings or lessons, you've got to actually plan a little bit about what you're going to say, what you're going to actually show them, or what's the result, right? Okay, in this mini training, what am I trying to show them? Get them from point A to point B. But these are highly powerful, highly engaging, because what you do when you give somebody a mini training for free, you're establishing that trust. You're establishing your credibility. You're becoming that thought leader. You're becoming that business that they're going to continuously come back to, because they know that you're a resource. And that is massive. And what I say when you do mini trainings or lessons, for instance, I will show you, I did this a while ago, but I did a mini lesson on how I plan out my week. I did a mini lesson on how to break down your goals. I did a mini lesson on the Instagram story content tips. And I always keep it to 3 points, right? Because you can end up doing them for hours if you want. So I keep it very simple. It's I'm going to show you 3 ways to use Instagram stories today. So again, I pre-frame what they're going to learn, and then I do those lessons, and I scatter them out through the day, so people keep coming back. And then at the end, I usually end with a call to action again, saying, was this helpful? Or did you know this? Or, some sort of gauge whether or not I should continue doing those. So obviously you don't want to keep creating content that people don't want. So I have to gauge it in some way to make sure that I am also aligned with what my audience wants. I love mini trainings because I use them for several different reasons. I use them to pre-frame my new offers. I use them during a launch. I use them to gauge whether or not my audience is ready for a certain program or offer or course. And it's, again, something that it's super powerful. So if you do, say, a mini lesson every week, people know that they can come to you. So when they're ready to, pull out their credit card, they absolutely know that you are the person for them because you show up. The other way is market research. So I involve my community, as you can see, as much as I can. I do quite a lot of polls, but I use polls for market research to see whether or not my audience knows a certain level of social media knowledge. So, for instance, if I want to create a new workshop on social media strategy, I will either use the quiz function, quiz feature, or the poll feature to see where they're at with their social media strategy knowledge. So it can be as basic as, do you even know what a social media strategy is? Yes or no? Do you have a social media strategy? Yes or no? Our quiz is what is included in a social media strategy? And, I give them options. So for me, I can gauge whether or not at the beginning, see if people know what a social media strategy is. And if they don't, then my content is going to be tailored around teaching them what a social media strategy is, the benefits, the results, and how I can help them create their own. So everything that I do on Instagram stories, 95% of it is intentional. I am repurposing a lot of those elements, right? So I'm not just using Instagram stories to use them. I'm using it for market research. So now I know I kind of like pre-validate my offers or pre-validate my content. And I've found that that's really powerful. And that's what's got me a lot more engagement, because I'm giving the people what they want. But I'm doing the research first rather than just pumping out a whole bunch of content, and praying that it works. I'm listening and I'm watching and actually, and writing down, okay, I did this poll this week. Yeah, okay, didn't get very many people voting on it, so maybe that's not something they're interested in. And don't get discouraged. Honestly, the more data, regardless if it's something that you want or something that you don't want, either way, it's awesome to know where your audience is at so that you can meet them there with your content. So that's showing up on stories. 3 ways: day in the life, mini trainings or lessons, and then market research.
Awesome. There's so many like little nuggets just in that one section.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like Tasmanian devil when it comes to talking about this. I can go on forever. But as far as being consistent, right? I know I did say there's one way that can keep you consistent. I actually have 3, but the one that I think that you could actually use the most is to write out a plan at the beginning of the week. So write out what Instagram stories you want to do that week. If you can't commit to every day, which I highly recommend, and the reason why is because people are on their stories more than they are on feeds, is write out a plan at the beginning of the week. So if you're doing your weekly planning for your entire business, jot down times that you're going to create Instagram stories and what they're going to be. A lot of the times you can just create them based on the content that you're going to create for your feed anyways. So say for instance, I just did a post on 9 types of engaging content. So I can pair that with Instagram stories. I can either pre-frame that post just saying, hey guys, I've got a really awesome post coming up tonight with 9 different ways, 9 different types of engaging content. Can you guess any of the types? Again, engaging them, but also pre-framing that I've got something coming for them. And that you could do that. That's it for the day, right? And then share your post into your Instagram stories. Done. 3 to 4 Instagram stories that has taken me 3 minutes to do. Do you know what I mean? So don't make it a complicated structure or process. Keep it very simple, especially if you have never done Instagram stories or are new. Like, don't put that extra pressure on yourself to make the 17 Instagram stories a day. Keep it to 4 if you can. The importance, again, like you said, is consistency with your message and showing up. So even if you can only show up for 1 to 2 a day, preferably 3, then do that. If you can do it every other day, do it. Important thing is to write it out at the beginning of the week so that you know what to plan for and what you can do.
Yeah, I feel that that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they get told, you've got to do like 15 stories a day to be relevant, and then everyone's like, oh, that's way too hard.
Oh, and it's overwhelming, especially small business or solopreneurs, right? You wear 1,000 hats. Like 15 Instagram stories does not sound like a good idea, and doesn't sound like a good time, because it's so much of your time, especially when you're starting out. You've got that learning curve. So I always just say, write out a plan at the beginning of the week, commit to at least showing up, especially when you first start, at least 3 times a week, just to get used to it and show your face. And that's hard. So if you can commit to showing up 3 times a week, and at least one of those times you're showing your face, that's great. And then build on that. The other way that you can be consistent is to theme your days. So it comes down to that planning. So if you want to show up 3 times a week, maybe you can theme them. Like on Mondays, you do a day in the life. On Wednesdays, you teach a lesson. On Fridays, you share with your community your favorite podcast or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily have to be super structured, but what I found out when I first started using Instagram stories, which you may have seen in my previous business, we did a schedule on Monday. So we put it up on our Instagram stories, exactly what we're going to cover in our stories through the week, so that we got everybody, a little bit amped for what we are going to provide.
I do remember
yeah,
seeing that.
yeah.
That's
And
really
it
cool.
also kept us accountable. It also helped us organize and plan like crazy, because we knew certain days of the week we had to do a quiz, certain days of the week we did an Instagram tip, certain days of the week we shared the love of our clients. We did a day in the life, all these different things. And we tested so many different types of Instagram stories to see what worked with our audience. And the ones that worked the best, which I think is hilarious, are the ones that we shared our Friday fails. So we shared what failed that week, what epic fails we had that week. And some of them were monstrous. My car breaking down in the middle of our 7-day workshop road trip. Massive fails.
Yeah.
And that we got so much, people learned so much about us personally. They thanked us for showing up and being so transparent. And we built so much trust when we celebrated our fails. And then we started to encourage other people to talk about their fails, because it's part of life. It's part of business. It's, everybody goes through it. And some of theirs were hilarious and horrendous, but we all celebrated it together, and it made it more of a, not, I want to say a joke. Some of them were quite serious, but we were in it together. You know what I mean? We built this community of celebrating fails, and it was so much fun, because we ended up doing a blog at the end of the year saying like our best fails of the year. And it went off, because for some reason people just love to see people fail.
Yeah, they always know the best stories, even though no one really wants them to happen.
Yeah, but again, our trust factor really, really increased after that, because we weren't just sharing, our awesome wins of, getting awesome clients, or, selling our online courses, or whatever we were doing. We were sharing all aspects of a business. So definitely theme out your days if you're starting out, and then batch create, so you can create them.
Definitely
and save
a fan
them.
of batching.
Yeah. So if you batch create your content already, then this is a smooth transition for Instagram stories to batch create your Instagram stories and save them to your phone. Saves you so much time and energy and overwhelm when you're planning out your content. So if you can try and batch them as much as possible, do that, because then when it comes time to needing content, you've got them. And it's much easier to be able to share your Instagram stories knowing that you've already got them done, and then adding the text or emojis or whatever you're going to do to it.
I had a question around that, actually.
Yeah.
I was wondering this the other day, because I don't really like doing work from my phone. To me, it's just like too small. I just much prefer to be on my desktop. So do you ever use a desktop scheduler for stories? And if you do, what would you recommend?
So there's nothing can be scheduled as in actually published to Instagram stories, but you can create them.
Store them.
Yeah. So you can create them. I know Later does. So later.com is a social media management tool. And I know through them you can create Instagram stories, and then all it is just a push notification to your phone. They're already done. You just need to publish them. So I know that. I think Sprout Social, I used to use them, but Sprout is more for agencies who manage multiple social media accounts. But Later, definitely, I know 100% Later does. And I used to use them. So
do you just upload them directly from your phone, get them all onto your phone and then?
Yeah. So I've got a folder in my photo albums for Instagram stories. And so anything that I do that involves Instagram stories, I save them in there. And then depending on what I'm doing that week, I will pull from those. I usually, like I haven't doing it lately, but is to put up a daily agenda of what I'm doing so that people can also follow along. And I usually just pull a brand photo and then put text over it. But lately I've been just trying to show up a lot more naturally, being a lot more, I'd say, transparent and showing what's happening throughout the day, or, you know, the ideas that are coming into my head that I want to share straight away. So I don't want to limit myself with my planning. So I'll do, you know, my mini trainings or lessons. I definitely plan those out because I want them to hit the mark. I want them to be quick, easy, and obviously showcase me as an authority in, you know, in their eyes, in my audience's eyes. And I've got certain call to actions with those trainings. But when it comes to like day in the life, or when I want to talk more than just my business, talk a little bit more personally about, you know, what's going on in the world, or, you know, feeling burnt out. That's a huge one. Hitting those pain points of being an entrepreneur or a small business owner. I keep those very much in the moment, because you can't, I think it's hard to manipulate and batch that kind of,
well, people know
kind of work.
if it's real or not, you know, like people can sense it straight away. So totally agree.
And you start seeing people like, I had someone comment being like, are you just doing all these stories at once because you're wearing the same outfit? I was like, actually I've just worn the same outfit for like 3 days because we're in lockdown and I don't care. But it is like people are quite aware of what's going on. And so when I batch my content for Instagram stories, I do it mainly just for the lessons, or if I'm announcing a new offer, right? Like I just did last night, I batch created a whole bunch of those designs and templates so that I can just put those up. And now I can use those. I can repurpose those and use them over and over and over again.
That's what I love about the face to camera thing, is it is so much more organic. And, you know, if you really are stuck for content, you don't have anything pre-prepared, then it's face to camera. And like video anywhere just connects.
Yeah. And it's, for me, I do as a business owner feel so much more connected when I show up and show my face and talk about the reality of anything that I'm doing. And it also, again, it connects as a viewer, you connect with that person or that business so much faster than you do through a photo or text. It's like, oh, I definitely have been there, or, okay, I'm glad that you went through that. So now I know, like, I can miss out on that, or, you know, okay, that's great. That's a good recommendation. I'm going to try that. You know, any type of just showing up as yourself and for your business is really, really big. So that out of anything I'll ever say today, showing your face is the most important by far. Yeah.
And what would you say, because I know there's going to be people watching this who have product-based businesses who are like in e-commerce, and a lot of them, I know from working with them in my marketing programs, you know, they will quite often say, but the business isn't about me, it's about my product. So what would you suggest with IG stories in that case?
Yeah. All right. So I have an e-commerce client, and by far the biggest engagement is when she shows up.
Yeah.
Oh, by far.
That's what I say too.
She shows up, or we do a static post on Instagram with a photo of her, and we talk about the business aspect of building a new, product that's disrupting their industry. Talk about being a woman in business, talking about the real side of things, not just product, but then her videos of her holding the product and talking about the features, her talking about the process of developing that product, the process of like R&D and how long it takes and what they had to go through. Massive amount of engagement and shares, and she gives tips as well. So she's, huge into health and wellness. So she gives health and wellness tips. People eat them up. It's like how cool would it be, for instance, like, Nike, a Phil Knight, I mean, he's old as hell now, but showed up and started doing, little videos or talking about Nike and how he started it. I'm just using them as an example because I use them all the time. But it's like, you are so much more curious when you see a face.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there's a misconception that e-commerce, you can't be the face as well as the product, but I think you can actually position yourself as your brand's biggest influencer.
100%. And when it comes to that trust factor, you bring that trust factor. Your face brings that trust factor because they know who's behind the business and see that you're showing up. Gives you kind of like street cred, right? Like, you actually are showing up and loving your business enough to get on Instagram stories, to do blogs, to be in the photos, right? It's just not about your product, because people want to see the passion. They want to see, what you've gone through, the transformation, the business, the brand story. Like, if I'm going to buy something from someone, I need to know who it is, where it comes from, and what's the story behind it. How can I relay this story to other people? How, when I'm talking about a product or recommending something, like, oh my God, this owner is amazing. She does this, and part of this product, part of the proceeds go to this certain wildlife charity, something,
sharing values and that kind of thing.
And talking points. And then all of a sudden your customer is selling your product for you. It's not just a matter of, all these features are great. It's like, this business and this person is great. So when you can build in that person as part of your e-commerce, I think is way more powerful.
Yeah, there's one person I've seen doing this really well is Sonia Driver from EcoTan.
Oh yeah,
yeah, she's like quite.
Oh my God.
I haven't been following her on IG, so I don't know if she does it on IG. But she definitely does it on Facebook, where she is like doing lives, face to camera, even though it's a product, like, but there's a movement behind it. It's like the natural beauty, and talks about things she cares about. She's even got a podcast. Like, it's all growing that brand and all increasing the sales, the product sales.
Absolutely, 100%. And anything that you can do to build your brand will never be a bad thing at all.
And I feel like a lot of e-commerce businesses think that that's kind of the domain of the online business, just like our type of businesses, where it's a digital product or something, but you can do it differently. It doesn't matter what your product is.
And it's the same as like understanding the story and the results, right? In that experience, like an owner of a business, a product-based business, sharing their experience, sharing results, like, and hearing that from an actual person rather than reading it on a product description, like, that is amazing. That is so much more powerful than just reading a product description that talks about the results.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's good. We've gotten slightly off track.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. So now we need to talk about how to sell on Instagram stories.
Yeah, I'm excited for this part.
Yeah. Okay, so we all know with social media that it's not a direct sale, right? Majority of the time, unless you are in launch mode and you have warmed up your audience to talk about it, it is not buy now, buy, right? Because your audience is at different levels of their journey with you, right? Whether they just started following you or they've been around for a while, where they trust you now. So you can't expect your sales messages to work on everybody, right? It's different. So there's a few ways. So I do 3 different things to warm my audience, to get them interested in my services and my online courses and my new group coaching program. So what I did is I tease sneak peeks. That's a really good way to warm up your audience. So if you've got a new product coming out, new online course, new, consultation package, whatever you've got, tease the shit out of it. And I mean at least a few weeks, even months, if you can, just start dropping little crumbs of what you're doing so that you're warming that audience up for what you're going to give them. Do a countdown if you want. Just tease them with sneak peeks, because that piques our curiosity, right? It's immediately what I want to know what's going on. So that's the first way to warm the audience. The next one is to share a free resource and then ask them to DM you to get the link. So for instance, I've got 101 social media tips free download. I can put that up, as part of my mini training. At the end, I can say, I've got this 101 social media tips download.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it, just DM me and I'll send you the link. You can get it straight away. So again, that is me warming up my audience by giving them something for free in exchange for their email. So I'm taking them from, cold to warm, because now they're giving me their email address, and I know that they're struggling or have a pain points of building social media content. So
That's a great hack to get around the whole, if you don't have the swipe up.
Yeah.
Which you need 10,000 followers for, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that is a really easy way to get people to give you their email address. So then again, you can start talking to them through your email platforms. But also, again, you've got them in your DMs now. Start to facilitate a conversation. And you can even just, so say for instance, somebody gives me their email address about the 101 social media tips. I might come back to them a few days later or 5 days later and just say, were you able to check it out? How was it? So that you're not just saying, here's a free resource, buy. I want to start a conversation. I want to see what your biggest pain points are. I want to see how I can help you. And if I have any programs or services, obviously, to help you later down the road when you are considering getting help. Because again, I don't want to go into the DMs and immediately sell after I give them.
No.
That's so, it's happened, and I hate it. It's just so inauthentic and slimy. So just be aware of their space, be aware of their time, and yes, they are giving your email address, which is great, which is gold. But be aware of your messaging that you're putting out there for your business. Don't automatically think if somebody gives you their email address, they're going to buy from you. You still have to build that trust. But this is just, I wouldn't say a shortcut, but kind of is a shortcut into that.
Yeah, and the chances of someone reading a DM is like probably 100 times higher than clicking on an email.
Yep. Also, another thing, actually I have 2 more points, not just one, is when somebody follows you or responds to you, one of your stories in a DM, do a voice memo.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah.
So I did that. I launched like a 3-course bundle a couple months ago, and I had a few people that were interested. And so I sent them a voice memo saying, hey, just let you know, this bundle is live now. I think it would really be beneficial for you because we've talked about these key points that are your struggles in your business. And at the moment it's at a killer price. I'd love for you to take advantage of that. And you get lifetime access. If you have any questions, just let me know. And obviously I say, hi, whatever your name is. And then they get to know my voice, and it's a personal message. And by doing that, I had like 70% of conversion rate.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's it goes into sales, like if you need to keep communicating with the people who you've already been in communication with, it's like the follow-up, but in a DM setting.
Yeah, and like 70%, you can't get, what are you going to do that with, ads?
No.
Yeah, exactly. And that took me maybe at most 20 minutes to do those voice memos, 20 minutes to make, $3,000 or whatever I did. Like, for me, that's just a no-brainer now, an absolute no-brainer to continue to do that and facilitate. But what I do now is I do more voice memos with all of my DMs so that they get used to me talking, because sometimes people don't want to click on the voice memo at the first time because they're like, what are they saying to me? What is this? So I try to make it more a consistent thing again. The other aspect of warming your audience to be able to sell to them, I touched on it before, is polling your audience for market research, right? So say, for instance, you want to do, again, a social media strategy course. I did this. It said, how many of you have a social media strategy? Yes or no? So the ones that said no, I DM'd. And I started a conversation saying, okay, can we expand on this? Was there, what's the reason behind not having one? And it's like, time, don't understand what it is, don't think I need one, I don't see the importance of it, I don't have the money to get it done, all those things. But for me, that was gold, because I saw all the pain points of my target audience all within one poll. So now I know what objections to talk about in my content to get them to rethink signing up for my social media strategy course.
Yeah, so it's all pre-framing.
Yeah, all it is. And that's like the thing with Instagram stories. I would say your entire strategy of stories could be pre-framing, but it's such an authentic way as well, because you're showing up where you're showing your face and you're talking about a whole bunch of elements of your life, not just your business, that people are responding and trusting a lot faster than they were beforehand, or with direct marketing, or even with ads, right? You've got cold, warm, hot, and they've got to go through a process that might take a while. You never know.
Years sometimes.
Yeah. And it all depends on the product, right? Or the service. But with Instagram stories, I think that is just like a cut through time in getting people to understand who you are. Because when you get to know someone on Instagram stories and their vibe, you could say, whether or not you could work with that person or not. There's several people I've unfollowed because I just can't. I'm like, this isn't going to happen, and this is not something that I'm going to waste my time on. So if you actually feel like you could be a fit, and Instagram stories is that medium that's helping you tell your story in 15-second intervals, why not? Why are you not using this? It's free. It's free.
Yeah, exactly. It is free. Like, everyone can get so hung up on, I don't have a budget for ads, I'm disadvantaged. But there is so much you can do for free.
Yeah. And like your numbers, your Instagram followers, that number doesn't count. Like, I know several people that have 2,000 followers or less that make 6 figures a year. It has nothing to do with numbers anymore. It has to do with the actual followers you have, and whether or not they're engaged, and whether or not you are taking them through that customer journey and talking to them at every level, right? Whether they're new, whether they've been around for a little bit but haven't bought, and then obviously the ones that have bought and have stuck around. So Instagram stories hits all of those, and they can be hit within the same day. Right?
Yeah.
You can take somebody from cold to warm or cold to hot in a day, because they love you. They immediately are like, oh, I definitely like what she's putting down. I really love her content, or I don't like her content. Bye. Like,
which is a good thing, right?
Yes, it's such an amazing thing. And we are very impatient people. And if you want to play on that, Instagram stories is where it's at. Definitely. So those are my 3 things: tease with sneak peeks, share a free resource and ask them to DM you to get a link, and then poll your audience for market research and DM the ones that respond the way you want them to.
I love those. I think they're such amazing tips.
Oh, good. Yay.
I have a couple of questions, and then I see we do have a few questions. So if you're watching and you do have a question, drop it in the comments now. Otherwise, we might not get to it. So I fully agree with you on the point that it doesn't really matter how big your following is. But what would you say to someone who said, well, my Instagram following is only like a couple of hundred people? What's the point of doing stories?
Yeah. Okay. So I think, what do I have? Like maybe 600 now. And
for a business you just started, like in the last month or so, right?
Yeah. So, well, not kind of like this year, but it's not, I mean, it's not a massive growth, but what I'm seeing is massive engagement. And that's what matters. Is so if you've only got a few hundred followers, it's that, that one like quote that's going around. It's like, 25 followers fills a room, 100,
I know, imagine
fills,
that. Real
right?
people, yes.
Yeah. And so then I go back to, okay, if you have 200 followers, if 100 of them were to DM you and want to work with you, do you have your online business system set up to be able to take care of those 100 people, or to take care of those 100 DMs? And the majority of the answer is no. So for me, it's not again, it's quantity. It's not quantity, it's quality over quantity. But are you actually ready to have a lot of followers? So if you think that you need 10,000 or 5,000, are you ready to have those? And majority of the answer is no. You haven't learned things, you haven't tested things, you don't understand how to talk to your audience. So it's and it's a matter of, you've got to go through the process. Everybody does. Everybody has to go through the hard yards of starting something. Like, I only have 600 followers, and I do this for a living. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not about having all those thousands of followers, because if I can say this, if I had 600 people try and contact me wanting to work with me, I have certain systems in place, that's for sure, to be able to get to them, within a day. But work with them, absolutely not. No way, unless they wanted online courses, right? So it's a matter of understanding your Instagram strategy and what you want to do with it. It's not about the numbers at all. And if you're on there and you're not showing up consistently, especially in your Instagram stories, of course you're not going to grow. Instagram stories is how I've grown.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like 100% I've grown is through stories and showing up. And to me, it doesn't even seem like a job, because you get to converse with people around the world. Like, this is what I get to call my job. I get to connect with people around the world in messages. Like, that's such an awesome privilege.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So do you get more business out of Instagram than you do from Facebook?
Oh yeah, 100%. So at the moment I'm at, I think, 60% referrals and 40% Instagram. Yeah. So and the ones that have come as referrals started off from Instagram. So they've either followed me, or they've seen it, or somebody has referred them to my Instagram, and then have become clients, or have done consultations, whatever. And then the other ones come straight from Instagram. Yeah. So it's a very powerful tool. Yeah, it's very powerful. But it's also like, you've got to do the work. You've got to show up. And it's not something, social media is not something that you can set aside and do, even just
when you feel like it.
When you feel like it, or even once a week. It's not going to be effective to the point that you want and bring in sales, because if you only show up once a week, people aren't going to consider you an authority. They're not going to trust you.
Yeah, and I think there's a point where you're starting out on social media, like maybe you have a new business where you've never really been that engaged with social media, and you start to do all of the things and you don't get a response.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is totally bang on, and the fact is, this is the time to experiment and find out what is actually working while you don't have a huge following.
Oh, 100%.
And if you're not getting engagement, then you need to change it.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I think it just hurts our egos more than anything. It's like, oh, it's not working.
And massive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's not working. I even get this way. I'm like, what the hell? I just did an epic post that you guys wanted, and it not crash and burn, but it didn't do as well as I anticipated. So for me, it's like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. What was missing? What it could have done better? And that's where I think, especially when we start off, we are very fragile. We're fragile beings because we're trying to do so many different things. What I look at it is, every fail or every struggle that I have is teaching me something, so that I don't do it again in the long run. And I also try to think the long game is like, okay, I'm frustrated at the moment because content's not working or engagement's not happening, but in the long run, I'm still building consistency. I'm still producing and creating something that might not work now, so that I know to build better content next time. So it's all stepping stones. It's not just you're going to nail it every single time. Even experts, or even people who have hundreds of thousands of followers, they don't get it right every time. And so when you stop being so mean to ourselves, and
Yeah.
celebrating those small wins. Like I do that every week. I celebrate my small wins every week. And that's what keeps me sane.
Oh, that's so important. That is like
Yeah.
the key to
Yeah.
growing, I think.
Oh yeah. If I get an extra 3 comments on one of my Instagrams and then they DM me, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like they loved one post and decided to continue to talk to me in my DMs. Like, how cool is that? That they resonated with something that I did so much that they want to talk to me even more. Like, we have to put more thought into what we're doing on social in a positive way, right? So think about it as an awareness, right? A brand awareness, but also an awareness for yourself. Is you get to connect regardless, right? You're helping somebody, you're telling your story, and somebody's going to connect with that. And you'll never know if that person, like, could you imagine doing a post and someone seeing it and loving it so much, and then they become your best client ever, or they share your story or your content with somebody, and then they change your life forever. Like, the amount of opportunities and possibilities through what we do in our business is amazing. And so that's what I try and continue to tell myself is, okay, maybe this post or this Instagram stories didn't work or didn't get enough sales, but my next launch is going to be even better because I've learned all these things. And you never know, out of that launch, I might get a client that, I only need one client for the rest of the year, and they become this dream person. So there's so many, instead of that whole scarcity, more of that abundance element to it. And I always bring it back to, I get to talk to people on the internet around the world.
Yeah, and I totally agree with this, and the fact that if you don't want to put your face on Instagram stories, it is your ego leading the way.
Yeah.
Whereas you need to lead the way from a place where you want to serve because you love what you do so much, and you know you can help so many people, even if it's a product. Like, you've got to believe in your product or service, right?
Oh, so much. And it all comes down to, if you are so concerned about putting your face on the internet, or, in Instagram stories, you are doing your business a disservice by not showing up and sharing your story to somebody who needs to hear it.
Exactly.
100%.
Like, you could potentially, depending on what your business is, have such an impact on people's lives. And if you're holding yourself back, then it's them that's hurting because of that.
Yeah, exactly. So show your face.
Yeah, we can talk about this all day.
Yeah, no. I know.
Cool. So I've got a question from Haley here, and hers is about hashtags. So any tips for hashtags on IG stories? How many should you use to hide or not to hide?
I don't use them really at all. It depends. Like, I did a test for a while just to use like really big ones, like hashtag New Zealand. But it all depends on what you want to do with those hashtags. It's like, I used hashtag New Zealand, and I got, quite a lot of, new people looking at my stories, but are they my target audience? No, because they're just broad. People looking at, but then I use the location, sticker, which is way more important, especially if I'm showing, like, I'm doing workshops in Christchurch, using Christchurch location. That's way more important than hashtags on stories. Yes, it's a discoverability tool, and I would hide them, just because, unless you're doing something for like your product or your brand hashtag, because they're just ugly, and it takes away from your message or what you're trying to do on your Instagram stories. Like, having two, like, you can use, I think, up to 10 on Instagram story, but if you get people from, if you use broad hashtags and you get people from all walks of life from those hashtags looking at your stuff, is that actually helping your brand? I wouldn't say so, because they're not your target audience. Yeah, you get more eyes, but are they going to buy your product or service? So if you're going to do it, I would use your branded hashtag, and ones that are very, very, very specific to what you're doing. I used to use them, but I didn't see a huge change, like a huge, for me, that they're not like on Instagram feed, where they can help build your business tenfold by using hashtags. That's not the same with Instagram stories.
Okay. And Haley actually had another question, which was tips for gaining confidence on speaking face to camera on IG stories.
Yes.
And she knows practice will help, but anything else?
So I've done an Instagram workshop where we actually did stories together. And again, one of the biggest things was seeing my face immediately like clamming up and not knowing what to say. One is to try and have a little bit of a script ready. So if that helps, like, and practicing saying that. But there's a feature called the close friends. And you can share your stories only to close friends. So if you want to practice, add a few of your close friends to that option, and then only share your story to them to get feedback. Just saying, hey guys, I'm testing this out. I want to do stories. Let me know your feedback, or just share them with them to see if they're okay. Because if you trust, those close friends, then that's just one step closer to showing your face and getting on there. That's probably the biggest one, is do them, save them, or either save them to your phone or send them to your close friends, just so that you get in the habit of also sending them. So it's not just, okay, I've done it, now I save it. It's like, I've done it, now I've shared it.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it. And I recommend it because it gets you in the habit.
Yeah. And that's all it is, I think.
Yeah.
I also like putting if you've got a bit to talk about, putting post-it notes with a few main points, that I put it on the window, and then I find that works quite well.
Anything to help you stay on track and talk, and bullet points, post-its, whatever, that are eye level. Perfect.
But without being obvious.
Yeah.
I think it also can come back to that what we were talking about before, about it being about your ego. Like, it just take a moment and like drop in with yourself and be like, what is it that I want to share? Yeah. And is it about me, or is it about helping people?
And also, like anything in life, the first time is scary. And then after a while, you're like, oh my God, I wasted so much time worrying about this for what?
I spent years not doing video in my business. And then I started a couple of years ago, and honestly, people reach out from videos, even if they've got hardly any engagement. It's amazing. Yeah.
And it's all about doing. Even if you can do a boomerang to start off with, right? Just showing your face and doing something weird, or just like getting in the habit of do a selfie, like go maybe photo, boomerang, then video, like transition.
Yeah.
And just start showing up, because people, again, it's an ego thing, because people do not care, like at all. They're just excited to see that you show up.
Yeah, someone's just written, Gabby McKenzie has said to Haley, have a look at Jason Gunn's IG page. In his older posts, he talks about how to talk to camera. That's quite a cool idea too.
Yeah.
Shani asks, my question is, my main clients are corporate. I sell hampers. However, I am currently a stay-at-home mum. I feel a bit self-conscious showing too much of that side of me. Am I overthinking it?
Yeah, yes and yes. It is. It's always an overthinking thing, because people, again, are curious and want to know you and want to know what you're doing, regardless of where you're located. I don't think that should be a barrier for you. And working from home is very normalized now. It's kind of expected, right? We all had to work from home for months. So I don't think that is a problem. As far as corporate goes, corporate is a lot more difficult to get around the personality aspect of it, unless you have really cool directors, and because there's so many levels that you've got to go through. It's not just, I can talk to my manager about this. The manager has to talk to, their manager, and it's got to be approved by 17 different people. I had that question with a bank, because they had so many regulations on what they put on social media. So if you have the opportunity to try and voice, to saying, here are some ideas that I think would work really well for, you guys, I would voice them and say, can we do themed Instagram stories where we give tips, right? Or education is a huge one. So if you can build in that aspect, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, a human. It would be cool if they could showcase, the office, or, somewhat of a day in life. But even just doing quizzes is like, so Canva is a great example. They have awesome Instagram stories, and they do a lot of quizzes and show features. So if you haven't looked at their Instagram stories, you can play off of them as far as like corporate feel, because they're still fun and engaging, but they don't necessarily show faces unless it's featuring designers that have created templates. So
yeah, I think her question's more about she's not corporate, but her main clientele is. But I think that,
oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but I think that like people in corporate are still mums.
Yeah, exactly.
Or dads,
Absolutely. And people buy from people. So it doesn't matter what their business or occupation is. It's your brand values, your story, and whatever transition you're trying to provide for them. Doesn't matter the environment in which you're in. Like, you don't have to be in a suit. You don't have to, be in a corporate office as well. You have to just show up, share your story and how it benefits them, and be engaging about it.
Yeah, and if someone sees you on IG stories who happens to work for a corporate company, and then the next time they need a hamper, they're going to be like, I know this lady on
Instagram. Yeah. And it's also, it's not like, it's not her business. It's not, it would feel very weird and inauthentic if she did super corporate Instagram stories, if that's not her brand.
Yeah, because you've got to be honest with. Yeah.
So totally. definitely show up.
So I've got, I think there's a couple more questions. So do you recommend starting out with a business or personal Instagram account? I have read that once you're a business account, Instagram wants you to spend money to get more visibility in your followers' feeds. What's your view?
So you can't see any insights if you're not on a business platform. And I am always about understanding where your people are coming from and whether or not your content is working. So a business profile, that's what I recommend. You can't do ads from a personal one anyway. So if you end up doing it, like, you've got to switch to a personal one anyways. As far as engagement goes, it comes down to several algorithm factors. It's not just whether or not you have a business profile or not. If you're trying to sell all the time, it's not what Instagram is intended for, even though it's awesome for businesses. It's about engaging a community, creating connection. So no matter what, if you have a personal or a business account, your main goal on there is to connect with people. So if you're not doing that, you're not going to have good engagement, regardless if you have a personal or business account. But I highly recommend a business account, because you can't see any of your data. And you can't, so if you're going to do a monthly review on your content to see whether or not it's performing, or where you're at, where your audience is at, what time you should be posting, then it defeats the purpose of trying to build an Instagram for your business if you're just going to create content and not review it.
Yeah, and I think you can have a personal profile and have average content, and it's not going to do you any
good.
Yeah,
definitely.
So Jessica asks, she says that she's a complete novice, but she's asking, do you share your Instagram stories over to your Facebook page? I personally do, like to my Facebook page stories.
Yep, I do. Except for the ones that are specific to like Instagram. So if I want them to say, like, read my via link in bio, it doesn't mean anything on Facebook stories. So I don't share those ones.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm just sharing to see if I get any traction, because Facebook stories, my audience is not a Facebook story viewer. Like, I'll get maybe a few, whereas I get hundreds on my Instagram stories, but maybe get a handful on Facebook. It's still a very new concept for people to watch stories on Facebook. I just don't think it, at the moment, I'm still going to continue to share because, you know, again, those 5 people, they could become clients. They could be, you know, DM me or message me about something, and could actually, you know, end up doing some work with them. But as far as not doing them, I think it's too early to tell, because we're so involved with Instagram stories. It's, if we go on Facebook, it's a whole different platform and experience. People, I don't think, have like caught on to it yet as they do. And it's, I don't feel like it's because Instagram is such a, even though there's over 1 billion people on it, it's such a, seems like such a close community, or easy to talk to people, where Facebook just seems so vast and huge. It doesn't facilitate the same communication as Instagram can. But to answer your question, yes, I'd still do it, and just test it out to see if you're getting people watching them on Facebook. And if you are, then yes, create more.
I feel like I am surprised because, you know, when I do stories and share them over there, it's like just because it's an available feature, right? I don't do it because I expect anything from it, but I've been getting PMs or DMs from on Facebook from that. So why not? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's all the questions. I can't see any more.
Cool.
Let me just have a quick glance through. No, I think that's it.
Cool.
Awesome. So you had a freebie to share with us as well, didn't you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I put together a massive PDF. It's 101 social media tips, and it goes through 5 platforms, including Instagram stories, that you can download for free on my website. It's just thesmallwinscompany.com/freebie, and you can just sign up for it there. And it's probably my favorite freebie I've ever created. It's massive. I think it's like 19 pages long, but it's got really, really good tips. They're not just, ooh, make sure, you know, that you've got spell check. It's like, here's strategy tips. Here's Facebook, Instagram stories, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter.
Nice.
So it's a big one.
Sounds awesome. I'm going to download it after this.
Yeah, but they can definitely get that on my website. It's easy to find.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for popping in today, Jen. It's been really good to talk to you, and I hope that everyone in the group has found it super valuable. I'm sure they have. Yes,
and if you have any questions or want to connect with me on Instagram as well, I'm at the Small Wins Co. So
nice.
Hopefully, come say hi and we'll have a chat.
Yeah, and watch the expert.
Watch some of my ridiculous Instagram stories.
Yeah, I love watching your stories. I always watch them.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Cool. Right. Well, thanks so much, Jen.
You're welcome. See ya.
See you later, everyone.